Well, before we begin our discussion of Qual and Quant individually, we should really try to understand what distinguishes these two approaches from each other. And, one way to think about it is what the words actually mean, to actually look at what makes up the words. And the word qualitative research has the word quality built into it, right? And it also has an L, as opposed to quantitative, which has the word quantity built into it, and it has an N. So qualitative has an L. That L stands for listening. And we're worried about the quality of what we're hearing. We're worried about the depth and the detail and the context and the background and all of the things that go into a response, and not just even the words that are being said. We might focus on emotional cues. We might focus on tone. We might focus on how readily people can talk about a topic, and how much they need to be probed before they can give an answer of substance. These are all good qualitative applications. So qualitative data tend to be exploratory. They tend to use open-ended lines of questioning, and they tend to be focused really on what individuals have to say. Now, we later take that during analysis and combine it together and think more about the broader group. But often, one of the uses of qualitative research is to look for really good quotes that we can pull out and use to describe something, or to help us to really give our clients in marketing research some understanding that comes from an individual's perspective. Quantitative research, with that N, that N stands for numbers. And quantitative research is really about generating large volumes of data that can be turned into descriptive statistics. So as a result, those descriptive statistics tend to be descriptive of a population. It's descriptive research. They tend to be closed-ended questions, kind of like multiple choice questions on a test, where you have a limited number of options as opposed to just being able to say whatever you want to say in an essay question. And they tend to be focused on what the group has to say, or the subgroups within that group, rather than on what individuals have to say. We don't pull out just numbers that one person said when we're reporting quantitative research. We pull out a summary of all of the numbers, either reported as a frequency, or a frequency percentage, or a mean, or some other type of statistic. We use qualitative research to solve different kinds of research problems than we do with quantitative research. So qualitative research is really good to solve research problems that involve looking at context, depth of understanding, or idea generation. It's really good for all of those things. It's good for bringing in new ideas and kind of testing them out, and running them through the paces and hearing how people respond to them. It's good at letting consumers or customers come up with new ideas that are almost like brainstorming, where they're offering information that can be used to develop new products or refine existing products. Quantitative research is a little bit more like the shallow end of the pool, and it's not that the information isn't useful. It's just that it isn't as deep or detailed as what you'd find in the deep end. Rather, it tends to be broader, and it tends to be focused on describing a group, or, like I said, the subgroups within that group, and really how that group feels about whatever constructs or variables that we're studying. The population that we're studying also plays a role. Qualitative research can be used to reach anybody, but it's really ideal in situations where you have small populations or groups of really highly qualified individuals, like doctors or executives, or people with a unique characteristic, maybe like a disability or an illness or something like that. People who are heavy product users and so forth. Qualitative research is ideal for reaching these groups of people because there's usually not that many of them available to you, and every interview counts. If you only have 100 people in your population, and you're only going to be able to talk to 30 or 40 of them in the case of a study, you need to make sure that you get as much information out of them as possible, because it's going to be hard to reach them again. Individuals don't tend to participate in research every day. I mean, it's something that they tend to do every once in a while. So whenever you get them, you got to make sure you get as much out of them as possible. And qualitative research is really the best way to get that data. Quantitative research is really better for applications where you're looking at larger populations and you're not so worried about those individual qualifications. So you could conduct a quantitative study with doctors, but you probably wouldn't conduct it with certain types of doctors. You might conduct it with people within a specialty field, but not subspecialty fields. So you might talk to people that are pediatricians, but you wouldn't necessarily do pediatric surgeons, because pediatric surgeons are a much smaller population. You might conduct an interview with students, but you wouldn't necessarily target students that are in a particular class unless you're just trying to get their opinion of that class. The smaller the population is, the more likely you are going to be to shift to qualitative research rather than quantitative research. So with all that said, now what we're going to do, I'm going to run you through some qualitative research methods and some quantitative research methods, and then we're going to talk about how you can combine these two together.